everyone, in this video I'm reviewing Rocky Ultimate Knockout Collection. I just watched all 6 movies across 2 days, had a bit of a Rocky movie marathon. I watched Rocky 1 through 4 on day 1 and watched 5 and 6 the following day, and I had myself quite a time. This is one of my favorite movie franchises. I forgot just how good these movies are. It's been a few years since I saw all of these. I've seen 3, 4, and 5 a lot through the years. Rocky 2 I've seen maybe a handful of times, and Rocky 1 and Rocky Balboa only once in my life. I definitely didn't appreciate Rocky 1 enough as a kid, so much so, like I said, I had only seen it once in my life and didn't have a lot of interest in revisiting it because I had in my mind, from what I could remember, that it wasn't that good. But seeing this as a kid, there are just parts of this movie that I couldn't fully appreciate being so young, but having watched this as an adult, this is one of my favorite movies. The story, the writing is fantastic. Stallone's best work in my opinion as a writer and an actor. I actually thought he directed it too, but he did not. He directed 2, 3, and 4 in Balboa. John Avildsen directed 1 and 5. Rocky 1 is such a well done, complete, inspirational movie. It's about more than just boxing. To me, it's about meeting challenges and overcoming, taking advantage of the opportunities in life when they come, and really about love. We get an antagonist in Apollo Creed who could only have been played by Carl Weathers, who never seemed like a bad guy to me, which made the Apollo character so refreshing and complex. He has literally everything. He's the champ, he's smart, he's wealthy, he's skilled, he's physically strong, he knows exactly what he's doing, he always seems in control, he's flamboyant, he really has everything. He gives a shot to a guy who has very little, who is really the exact opposite, and it's not about good or bad, it's about rising up, taking on the challenge, taking opportunities that could change your life. Such a good movie. The beginning of Rocky 2, where Rocky and Creed are in the hospital, is the best part of this movie. The chaos where they both enter the hospital and Creed demands a rematch. The great part where Rocky visits Creed's room and asks Creed if he gave him his best. After that, we see Rocky start to struggle financially and with fame until he gets another chance with Apollo, who also needs this fight for his own sense of validation. Good movie, definitely not as good as Rocky 1, but very good. Rocky 3 was my favorite of all the Rocky movies growing up. Mr. T playing Clubber Lang, another fantastic antagonist, and another character I never saw as a bad guy. He was just a guy who felt slighted, had a chip on his shoulder, and wanted to prove he was the best. He did not like Balboa or Creed, but to me that didn't make him bad. Overall, the story was very good. There are 2 versions of Rocky 4 to choose from in this release. I chose Rocky vs. Drago, the Ultimate Director's Cut. I've seen Rocky 4, the theatrical version, more than any of the other Rocky movies. Always been one of my favorites, but it's been a while. It still is as good as I remember. One of the saddest movies in the franchise, with Apollo passing and how that happened. Probably my favorite fights of the entire franchise as well. Stallone's ability to write these complex and layered antagonists really contribute to these movies being as iconic as they are. When I think of these Rocky movies, I think about Apollo. I also think about Mr. T and, of course, Drago. To a lesser extent, Tommy and Mason Dixon, but they're still strong characters. Going back to Rocky 4, specifically Drago, he is a fantastic bad guy. And I did see Drago as a bad guy. He's the first real bad guy, I think, in this series of movies. He took PEDs, he took a man's life and didn't really care too much about it. The story is very good. One of the more emotional movies of the franchise, and we essentially get a full James Brown music video in this movie. I didn't like Rocky 5 for a long time, but over the years, the more I saw it, the more I grew to think it was okay. Being a fan of the Rocky character, it was hard to see him lose everything, so it made the movie for me a bit depressing. Then seeing him clearly neglect his son wasn't that great. Overall, didn't care for this movie as much as the others in this franchise. I didn't dislike the movie, but I wanted a better story. Richard Grant didn't get a ton of screen time, but he made every second he was on screen count. He dominated every scene. And instead of a boxing match, we get a street fight, which I thought was a nice change. Rocky Balboa felt like a throwback to Rocky 1, more so than any of the other movies. I really enjoyed it. I had only seen it once when it first released. I do appreciate it a lot more having seen it after watching it as part of this Rocky movie marathon. I like that Rocky's story didn't end in Rocky 5. We see him at another stage of his life. It felt like it made sense. He seemed settled and resolved in life, but he needs one last fight. And I liked what Paulie tells him when he gets into the ring. I'm paraphrasing here, but he says, "Get it all out now." It really gives the story a sense of finality. The video quality across the entire set is good. Grain's a little more pronounced in Rocky 1 and 2 with the exception of Rocky 4. None of these movies are super colorful. Colors are generally more muted, just a duller palette. And that's not a criticism, that's just the tone of the movie. Rocky 4 is generally a much more colorful movie, some bolder, richer colors, especially in the two main fights. Rocky 4 was the big standout visually among the set, but all the movies had decent detail despite a little softness. Audio was good throughout the set. The soundtracks were rocking and filled the room. The crowd noise in the fight scenes came through well in the surrounds. Nothing demo worthy, but generally good audio. So that's my review of Rocky Ultimate Knockout Collection and my experience with these movies in my home theater across 2 days. I highly recommend this set. Very glad I picked it up. If you have any questions about this release, leave those in the comment section below. And if you have this release, what are your thoughts? Share those in the comment section below.